And so when we're looking at that history, we have to always start in the Nile Valley, and we have to look at the ancient civilizations there of ancient Kush and ancient Nubia and then ancient Egypt, which was called at the time Kemet. Now, unfortunately, when people think of Egypt today, they see a population over there, or at least the one that they see on TV, is made up mostly of Arabs, because for the Arabs, the country is known as the United Arab Republic, the UAR, not Egypt. And the fact that it wasn't until the year 639 of the Common Era that we see the Arabs show up. Mm-hmm. Prior to then, the people who existed there were in fact people that we would call today black people. Now, the argument, of course, has been that they were not black people. So if you mind, I'd like to go to the blackboard.
Oh, sure.
And illustrate for you how the people in the Nile Valley identified themselves in their language. Because I think that puts to rest the notion of whether or not the ancient Egyptians were black or not. Mm-hmm. All right, so I'm going to go to blackboard here. Okay. While we're here, I'm going to show you an example. Now, the ancient Egyptians, the people we call the ancient Egyptians, wrote in a language that is traditionally described as hieroglyphics. Well, the ancient Egyptians didn't know something called hieroglyphics. The hieroglyphics comes from the Greek word hierio and graphio, which means sacred writing. But they called their language Medu Neter. Medu Neter, which was written like this. Medu Neter means divine speech. Now this is important because they thought of the language that they spoke as something very, very special, that it was something that came to them from the divinities, or what we translate as God. Mm-hmm. Of course, when they just say that the ancient Egyptians worshipped gods, that's false, because first off, the term God, which comes from the High German word Geu, which means a blast of the wind, did not exist because the Germans did not exist at that time. All right, so this is very important to do nature. Now, in identifying their land, where they lived, they called their land Kemet. Kemet is a very interesting word, because all of the symbols that exist in what's called Medu Neter all stand for something that existed in their life, in their world around them. All right, so this right here is what's called a determinatives, and it is rather what's called a biliteral. A biliteral is a symbol that represents two sounds. In this case, it represents the sounds KM, and the symbol they used to argue is a crocodile tail. All right, now if we want to make the case that it's a crocodile tail or alligator tail or whatever, most alligators are black, but what we really know it as is Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop from the University of Dakar, now called Cheikh Anta Diop University in Dakar, Senegal. The late Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop pointed out to us that this is a piece of charcoal, it's burnt wood. And so Kem means black. Now this symbol is a bird, it's an owl. They have all types of birds. But this is an owl, and it is what's known as a uniliteral. A uniliteral has one sound. So that sound for it is M, and it's called a phonetic complement to Kem. So it's not Kem M, just Kem. This symbol right here is a T. This is a loaf, like a loaf of pita bread, right? Which has the phonetic value of T. It's also a uniliteral. This symbol right here is what's called a determinative. It tells us something about what all of this represents. And this is a symbol of a town or community with the streets going through it. And so we know that this means black community, or black town. Now, many books that you read on ancient Egypt will refer to this as the Black Land. But we know that that's incorrect, because the symbol for land in Medu Neter looks like this, and it's pronounced Ta. And the symbol Ta does not exist in this word. So we know that this doesn't mean black land, but it means black community. Now, the next thing is their name, how they identified themselves. Now, when they identified themselves, they identified themselves very similar. We see the word Kemet, like here, but now we have different determinatives. We have here the word Kemetyu. Now, the distinction here is that Kemetyu has a man and a woman with 3 strokes under it. The 3 strokes imply this is 3 to millions of people. So now we have the word not just black land or black community, we have black people. And so this is how they identified themselves.